There are very few movies in this world that truly stand out or can be considered remarkable because they're unlike anything else out there. Sure, there are plenty of great movies to watch, but most can't claim to be totally one of a kind, and not like anything else you can see on screen. But that being said, there are a few movies that have managed to achieve this distinction, and I think that the best among them might just be Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The movie that famously combined animated characters with live action people and environments better than any other. This movie simply has no equal when it comes to making the audience truly believe that cartoon characters really exist. When somebody watches this movie, it truly feels like a once in a lifetime experience. And today, I'd like to go over what exactly makes this movie so special. And there are going to be spoilers for this movie ahead. So in case you haven't seen it yet and you don't want anything ruined, and trust me, you don't, then you should probably come back to this video another day. You have been warned. Okay, so very loosely based on the novel Who Censored Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit tells the story of a disillusioned detective forced to help a cartoon rabbit that's been accused of murder and must prove his innocence. And while apart from the cartoon aspect, that seems like a fairly simple and generic plot, let me just assure you it's anything but. This is a movie that brings its audience headfirst into a world where cartoons are real. Animated props are just as ordinary as the live action stuff, and toon physics can be invoked on a dime, whether you're in an animated setting or a live action one. And obviously, that's what's quick to draw people in. I mean, look at this movie. There's even a scene of a live action person driving an animated car, and never for 1 second do you doubt that they are both really there. I mean, some might even go as far as to say that this might just be the greatest special effects movie of all time, and I honestly wouldn't blame them for it. Because as I said before, other movies have tried it, and some did pretty well at that. But when it comes to the integration of live action and animation, this movie is simply in a class all by itself. I mean, we've all fantasized at some point about living in a cartoon or meeting an actual animated character, but it's this movie that makes us believe it can really happen. Seriously. The work of Robert Zemeckis, Richard Williams, his animation team of over 300 people, Bob Hoskins, and everyone else who worked on this movie simply cannot be given enough credit. Once again, after only 5 minutes of watching this, you do not have a doubt in your mind that the animated characters are really there. And if that isn't what's known as movie magic at its finest, then I don't know what is. But what I also think helps this immersion factor along is the cast of animated characters. Because for the first and only time in cinema history, Disney characters and Looney Tunes characters get to appear on screen and interact with each other. Really, the piano scene between Daffy and Donald Duck, or the iconic parachute scene featuring Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny, that's what helps make this movie feel so special. I mean, when are cartoon lovers ever going to get such a crowd of iconic animated characters together in the same scene in an official film ever again? Frankly, it's amazing that it even happened once. But that's what also helps make it feel more authentic. Because if only Disney characters and characters original to the movie appeared, then it would feel much more like a Disney exclusive movie. Sure, it still would have probably been great, but it's the fact that characters from other studios actually appear and talk to each other that makes it feel more genuine. Because obviously cartoon characters can't exist in the real world, but the fact that so many of them appear together in a movie about cartoons, regardless of the studio, makes it a lot easier to believe they could with the seamless integration cementing it. Because if the cartoon characters did exist, they'd speak and hang out with each other regardless of their studio, as real life actors do all the time. And because this movie shows them doing just that, it makes the depiction of them actually existing alongside humans all the more believable. And on top of that, it's just plain awesome. Again, even if we never have another Disney and Warner Brothers crossover until the end of time, this movie will always exist to give us that thrill. And what also helps is the actual plot. Again, it may not be what most people go to see the movie for, but it's what makes it work so well. Because if the movie were simply interested in showing off the live action and animation integration and had a terrible plot, then it wouldn't be nearly as revered and beloved as it is today. But because the plot is actually a good one, it makes the movie stand out even more. And the choice to borrow so many elements from the noir genre was actually a very smart move, as it not only helps with the very nostalgic and genre throwback type feel, but it makes the audience much more inclined to take what they're seeing seriously. If it were just a movie about cartoon characters running around causing problems for people, that would probably get old pretty fast. But because there's an actual plot involving murder, corporate espionage, and stakes that are quickly shown to be dead serious, it serves as the perfect contrast to the funny and nonsensical nature of the cartoon characters. Basically, it not only keeps the audience interested, but was also a great way to play off the concept of an animated and live action world where they live side by side. Instead of the integration taking over the whole movie or being the only reason for its existence, the movie has a reason for everything to exist like that. We're quickly shown that there is a major difference between the toons and humans, not just in how they look and act, but how they're treated, and how if they're not careful, they might just be erased from existence altogether. And on that topic, we also have Judge Doom, the perfect villain for a movie of this nature. At first glance, just a toon-hating human, we later find out that this man is actually an insanely disturbed toon that hates his own kind so much he wants to drive them to extinction. And in the end is nothing but the ultimate mockery of everything that a toon is supposed to be. And let me just say, as a writer myself, I know it would have been very easy to simply have Doom be a human toon hater to serve as the perfect contrast to the more tolerant and accepting humans. But the fact that he actually turns out to be a toon is infinitely better in a case like this. Because not only does it make him a million times more terrifying, but once again shows how the makers of this movie use the concept to its full potential. Because nothing about Doom is fully human from the start, from his demeanor to his appearance, and the attention put into the details of that is honestly staggering. To put it simply, every decision made regarding this villain is absolutely genius, but especially at the climax. From his being outed by a bulldozer to his using the normally playful nature of toon physics as murder weapons to his death at the hands of the Dip he had created, all the while channeling the Wizard of Oz. It's really no wonder why he became such an instantly iconic villain, even for such an instantly iconic film. And speaking of the bulldozer scene, I also think a major benefit of this movie is that no CGI is used. Now, I've gone over this elsewhere, but just to briefly reiterate, I believe that CGI sometimes has a side effect of taking the audience out of a movie if it's too overused, as well as making certain feats in movies harder to appreciate because it arguably cheapens their value. But with none of that here, and everything done the old-fashioned way, it makes it feel even more real and awe-inspiring. Because everything you see on screen is real. And while there is obvious manipulation, it's actually happening on set in real time instead of by a computer after the fact. And because of that, it makes the Toons' presence feel all the more genuine, because their actions are actually being done alongside the other actors. Even the likes of the flattened Judge Doom, which was done using stop motion, feel all the more authentic because of that. Seriously, if this had been done with CGI, it wouldn't look nearly as real as it does today, and might have just shattered the whole illusion. To put it another way, if there was obvious CGI being used throughout the movie, then it just wouldn't have the effect that it does. But because the Toons pick up real props and interact with real objects that behave as if they're really being interacted with, it just makes it feel so much more believable. And especially things like the aforementioned car chase, because they aren't cutting corners using CGI, you're honestly left to wonder if they genuinely brought an animated car to life for that scene. Because I'll be honest with you, I still don't know how they did most of the stuff in this movie, and frankly, I don't want to. In all honesty, this movie does such a great and convincing job of showing animated cartoons existing alongside real people that I'd rather watch it believing that the Toons are real, rather than try and figure out how they pulled off everything they did so convincingly without a computer. It's just my personal take, but I feel that this is one movie where you're better off not looking behind the proverbial curtain and just appreciating what you see, because it does what it does so well. So, simply put, Who Framed Roger Rabbit may be one of a kind, but only because it got everything right. The special effects are honestly amazing and benefit immensely from no CGI, and the darker story, in contrast to the light and comical tunes, makes for the perfect balance of fun and genuine intrigue, as well as really sell the stakes of the movie's climax. Because when Benny notes that this isn't any cartoon, you know that he's not kidding. And, of course, the actor's ability to so convincingly sell the fact that the animated characters are really there can't be overlooked either. Really, it's easy to see why there aren't too many movies of this nature, and why we may never get another one like it again. Especially one that not only does such an effective job of making you believe that the cartoon characters are real, but also gets the characters from several different studios to appear and interact with each other to boot. Basically, for an animation lover, this movie has got everything, and I believe it fully deserves its status as one of the most special pieces of animation ever made. Okay, I think that's everything I wanted to say on that. So now I'd like to hear from you guys. Do you believe that Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a truly unique film and is worthy of the special place it has in cinema? Or are you not a fan? Please feel free to let me know in the comments below. And obviously you don't have to agree with any of my opinions expressed in this video. You can feel about any topic we discuss that you want to. And thank you all for watching. It is very greatly appreciated. And I hope to see you all next time.